It looks like we have Carl, so I'll say we get started. Hey everyone, morning, afternoon, evening, all of you. I see that people are still coming in. So as usual, I think Pete, you can start with the quick comment updates, and then as a community go through open forum and SIG updates. So maybe over to you, Pete, while I share my screen.
All right, sounds good, thanks. So yep, just as a reminder, there is a code of conduct for the llm-d community and this call. You can find a link to that in the community meeting notes. That's shared in the chat. If you're not a member of the Slack, please join it. There's an invite link there as well, and you can ping the @community team if you need any help for anything inside that Slack there. I did want to call out that we are working on the community side on improving documentation on the public llm-d website. We've got a plan to basically aggregate documents from the individual project repos. So some of that work is in progress, and you can actually see the results by going to these links where we're pulling in documents from llm-d infra, for example, some of the well-lit paths and that, as well as right now, at least just the individual readmes from the individual repos. But over time, we'd like to expand that to include essentially more docs that are inside the repos. And then that way we can have the GitHub be the single source of truth for that. So if you have any questions or comments on that, feel free to drop into the Slack channel. Website and docs is where we generally work out of there. But otherwise, you might see us with some pull requests in your repos just to help improve the documentation there, which again is trying to get all synced to the main site. So that's all I have here. So I'll pass it back over to you, Carlos.
Great. Can you guys see my screen? Just to make sure. Do you see anything?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Weird. Okay. Pete, do you mind to share the community notes so I can talk through it? I don't know what happened here.
Yeah.
Very good. So let's just jump into like open forum. I do have 2 items, and then we can go over like others. So coming to the 03 release, we discussed last week the themes defined. You guys can see the issue here. Of course, again, this is more like a detail. That was like one key feedback that we got. We're also doing something related to 02. This project is all about, of course, getting better, improving, right? I think we learned a lot with the release process. So we've been going through like this kind of post-mortem type of analysis, just seeing what worked well and what it didn't. So if you go to one of the links, you'll see that they capture some of the lessons learned. There are a couple of things like the process itself, from timing, for example, there are some dependencies that we did not fully anticipate some of like the interdependencies for like the timeline. So that's one thing. There are a lot of like also coordination in terms of ownership of the components that you learn some lessons, also visibility across some of these things. So we just kind of capture a lot of these things in the documented link. I don't know, Pete, if you can click on post-mortem, you guys see some of the big big themes in terms of like where we are actually improving for 03. This is public, so anyone in the community that again want to chime in, share feedback, again from seeing like how you operated for the release, we appreciate any comment. Again, in the spirit of getting better for each new release. We're getting to like these monthly cadence. So again, improving this process, make it more efficient. It's a core goal, right? There is one comment on like a code freeze timeline. I think Greg, you had a concern here. I don't know if you want to chime in, so we can also kind of discuss.
Yeah, just bugs don't really kind of appear until we start testing things, and things always crop up last minute. We had multiple release candidates or a bunch of images, some minor version releases as well that went ahead of what we expected. So a code freeze, I feel like, would be very helpful to get everyone on the same page and put that process in motion sooner.
Okay, yeah, this is one of the things that I think we captured in the postmortem, but again, feel free to expand there. And if anyone else has, again, feedback, please do capture. On prepping for 03, and then just like lessons learned, any other comment from the team before we move on? Sounds good. So 03 is coming hot. So there's a bunch of things happening. We get an update from the 6 in a little bit, executing again against that execution roadmap that you put together. And Nir, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one question about the release and the dependencies. So we've talked about it last time before 0.2 about having like enough time before llm-d release, and I think we now did it well in GIE. So the planned release date in GIE is August 14, and from what I've seen in the issue for llm-d, it's the end of the month. So we have like more than 2 weeks to cover whatever we need and iterate on the GIE release if there are some issues. I'd like to know if there is some planned release date for VLLM, because this is another one of the core dependencies we have. And if there isn't, maybe we should push to something close to middle of August.
Yeah, I don't know if Tyler is here to comment on VLLM, but this is definitely something that you're tracking, trying to, of course, sync. I do think like what we have planned would allows us like that at least 1 week again time between the two. Something that we have in mind here. So I'll let VLLM folks comment. I don't think we have everyone here today, but something that we'll come back in the issue and just put the dates there so everybody knows like how much time you have. But we're definitely enforcing like at least 1 week time between the two. Okay, very good. So I'll move on to the next topic in open forum, increasing our mind share, right? So of course we have the blogs. The blogs so far, they have been more like a kind of release update or release announcement, right? Kind of high level. We feel like we need those kind of next level detail type of blog, very central like experience and examples, right? Really kind of putting, covering a lot of the detail and showing how actually you can use these things. So there is a big effort across the team to just put a lot of like these blogs together, have a cadence, right? There's one on inference scheduler, there's one on benchmark being put together. This is for the community to know and also contribute at some point. So this is more like divide and conquer, just getting the word out there. But again, with the spirit of detail, next level, right? Just again, really kind of center an example and things like that, right? This is more like, I don't know, heads up for everyone that this is happening, but also invitation for anyone who has ideas of things that you could cover, or even if you can contribute. So reach out through the Slack channels. This is very much a goal now, right? Just again, to spread the word even further out. Very good. So those are the two from me. And I see that people are putting other topics. So testing for 2 options. I don't know who added that, but feel free to chime in.
So yeah, I added that. Hi everyone. So I'm new to the group. I'm Nicole from Google, and I've been working on the GKE inference gateway, and then recently I'm looking into the test infra for llm-d. Hi, thanks. Yeah, so I'm still at the stage of gathering requirements, so I wanted to hear you guys' inputs about these two options here. One would be Google internally hosts the CI/CD pipeline, but we publish artifacts to a public repo so that you guys can check it. But this one, we have more like standardized tooling support. Of course, it's easier for us to manage. But then I think it has the drawback of no transparency and harder for the community to contribute to the CI/CD pipeline itself, right? So the other option would be we build up the pipeline entirely public, so that everyone can contribute. So I just want to hear if there's any feedback on these two options.
Nir?
Yeah. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
Welcome to llm-d. So I'll just say my personal preference. I think more opinions might be heard later. But personally, I think at this point in time, we have no end-to-end test to include the whole system, the whole llm-d end-to-end tests. So I think the sooner the better. And even if it's not transparent to everyone, as long as we have transparent results, I think that would be awesome. And of course, in the long term, we would like it to be public because we do want to contribute, and there are always bug fix and these kind of things. One additional point I wanted to mention here is that if there is a way to somehow capture metrics and then to have, to publish like dashboards for basic metrics like end-to-end latencies and these kinds of things that we can easily capture performance degradation or these kinds of things, it would be very helpful to identify if we introduce. So there are two different type of tests, right? We have the functional tests and we have the performance tests. So it might be very helpful in identifying issues with performance, even though the functional tests might be okay. So if that is possible, I think it would be really, really useful.
Okay, yeah, thanks for your feedback. Anyone else?
Ishmael? Ishmael, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. So I personally think the end-to-end tests should not be dependent on Google Cloud or anything like that. They should be running completely in the public. Performance tests is a different thing, and that's simply because the hardware you may need to run it. Versus end-to-end tests, I think, if you look at GIE, when you say you came from GIE, GIE has end-to-end tests that you can actually run locally on your own computer. So this is very good and very useful. They stand up. That test there stands up Envoy, EDP, VLM, VM Simulator, which I think is all good enough to run end-to-end testing. I don't think we need real VLM to do this. We're not testing inference. We're testing, where we send things at best, etc. Obviously, for real performance testing, you may want to use a real VLM instances, which becomes expensive, i.e. England. So if you guys have the resources to donate to the effort, that would be cool. That's my own personal opinion.
Yeah. Marcio?
Yeah, so I mean, I contribute cautious to not oversell, but at this moment, we do have an end-to-end test where we deploy everything, I stack with a K gateway, run a benchmark, collect numbers, and store the numbers. It's on GitHub Actions on the llm-d benchmark repository at the moment. Right now, we are pointing it at a cloud hosted inside IBM, but the results of the data are public, and we can point to different clouds.
Yeah, let me chime in here. Yeah. So I think we need to separate two things, right? Of course, is like agreeing on the pipelines that you need to run and what is the task. And I think there's progress there. What Master just mentioned is something that we're trying to encode. So that's a good thing. Now, technology that you use for CI in way to runs, I think that's where, Nicole, you're coming in, right? So my understanding is that you're asking, I mean, what are the pipelines that you run? And my understanding is that you're offering to host, probably not the only place where we host it, but to host is also on Google infrastructure, right? Which of course I think it's reasonable. I think the meta question though is, again, in this community, making sure that we agree, number one, what are the tasks and how we implement CI. And I know that Greg, you are working on this, so maybe it's a good segue for you to chime in.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll start with the community update on that front, which was the Conflux stuff that we were looking into. We kind of ended up dropping that. It was going to be a lot to maintain our infrastructure. So while we did get a lot of features out of the box there, that's probably not the direction we're going to go for now. The other consideration I had is I totally agree with Nir's point. We need, more coverage end to end as soon as possible. And I guess my core question then is, if we do this hosted internally at Google for the meantime, what is the ability to connect to other environments as well? Because, I'm sure TPU is a big priority for this release. I think we also planned originally for 0.3 to get ROCm support in. And so, I thought if you guys have access to AMD hardware that we can use, I think that would be fine for end-to-ends for now. If not, I think we should focus on a public option and pass like an SSH key that, maybe one of the Google admins have to approve, and then the job, SSHs into a Google machine or something like that, right? So I'm just concerned about like full coverage for everything here for this release.
Agree. Kong, conclude?
Yeah, just a very quick question. So a great discussion so far. It sounds like there are more to discuss, and great progress is going to happen in this area. I just have a quick question on moving forward. Do you want to continue discuss this in this meeting specifically, or do we have any other SIGs like installation, or is that meant like more dedicated forum for this?
So my suggestion is that we converge this discussion in installation and again make a decision. Can be there also great in others just to make sure that we set on this one. But I would say that we use installation to just tie the knots here. Great.
What would say, like, it's super important that we just find the minimal thing. So like the very first thing we said, which is the most important one, which is anything is better than nothing, which is what we have now. So Marcio's point and Nir's point, like we really need to get a flow going. And if it has some flaws, I think the end outcome, though, I totally agree, needs to be something people can reproduce. But we are going to be testing, we'll be testing multiple variations of gateway. And so like from a GKE perspective, the vendor aspects of that need to test end to end, and they need to be able to reproduce and others need to be able to reproduce that. So like let's make sure we get that distinction in, which is an end to end that can be tested, an end to end that can be run without a vendor dependency, and then a good end to end automation stuff that's getting up to speed that others can build off of. It's better to have one versus zero.
Yeah. Okay, I think we all agree. Let's converge, so we have to move on to SIG updates, but I think that was a good discussion. Again, should make progress. Let's converge to installation. And from my perspective, starting super is good. So I just want to also emphasize that. Anything else for open forum before we go to SIG updates? Okay. Moving on to the updates, starting with the SIG installation. I don't know if Greg, you have anything else?
Yeah, fairly minimal. We've implemented some workflows that can test kind of just basic inferencing and setting up the whole stack from a GitHub action that works on dispatch. So approver can just approve a PR and it can be tested automatically without someone needing to go in and manually do that. Additionally, we just ship some bug fixes and small things, but that's like the core piece we've got going.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Inference scheduler. Neely?
Yeah, sorry, unmuting myself. For the inference scheduler, so we have release milestones both for the scheduler and GIE. They're both tightly coupled. Another thing is we have a design doc for data parallelism in the scheduler. This is something we do want to support. So there is a link here. There were a few discussions on that in the past, and we did some brainstorming. So if you want to take a look and comment on that, we'll be happy to get your feedback.
Sounds good. SIGOT scaling, Abhishek
Yes.
or Tamar?
Let me start. So we're working towards a demo that will be shown tomorrow in the SIG auto scaling meeting. This is going to be some basic functionality. We're going to show how it works with how auto scaling works with llm-d. We have a very long backlog of items that we're going to continue to iterate on once we finish this milestone. In addition, we're going to use tomorrow's SIG auto scaling meeting to discuss the SLO document, SLO global constraints, and an objective document across all of llm-d. So please feel free to join. I also put a link here if you want to pre-read the document and put some comments there. Abhishek, do you want to add anything?
No, thanks. I think you covered it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. So for PD disaggregation, I don't think either Tyler or Rob, they're here. But again, there are a couple of things that happened that I'm aware, so maybe I just comment very quickly. There was a blocker for DBO. It was fixed. It's related to the CUDA graph support. So I think we're making progress there. It's a lot of focus on DBO and async scheduling at this point. So making progress. You can also see some of the benchmark numbers that you're getting. There were also some issues fixed there, which is great. So we're trying to get, of course, to some interesting performance with R1. And I think these numbers are starting to come in. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on PD disaggregation. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one. We're trying to build up to a discussion about what we want to do with the sidecar, and it's getting coupled up. We brought this up yesterday. We're having a few discussions about how that intersects with the larger architecture. Like if we get rid of sidecar, what replaces it? Does it go directly into VLM? And there's some good reasons where we actually are starting to come up with use cases where we would split out other things for disaggregation, not just prefill and decode, but tokenization, which some other folks are doing, which helps the scheduler, as well as down the road that we might also have attention disaggregation. And so that's triggering a little bit of a larger discussion. That'll happen, I think, in inference scheduler. But we're trying to get some diagrams and discussion points to kind of key off what do we want to do in the next month or so, and then what are the longer term directions we're going to go. So I hope to have something to share this week, snowballing a little bit.
Great. This is an important one. So yeah, I think we all should keep an eye. Thanks, Clayton. So moving on, I think next is the KV disaggregation. Maroon?
Yeah, so the 0.3 release milestone was published last week. I noticed I didn't update in the last meeting, so it's published. It has the 3 major items listed. Below it, we're progressing on all 3 fronts. So the VLM CPU offloading connector is under testing and benchmarking. There are still several PRs open in VLM, and Nikhil, thank you again for reviewing, and he's continuing to review them. Maybe if anyone can help, that would also be very helpful in getting it in time. We're also progressing on pre-processing requests, such as chat completions and investigating multimodal support, as well as benchmarking with some published results in the link. We've also started discussions on moving the precise prefix cache query to the Gateway API inference extension. It was started in the community call yesterday, but maybe we'll continue on Slack. I'll start a thread after this meeting. And that's it on our side.
Great. Thanks, Maroon. So moving on to benchmarking.
So we had the initial implementation of the standardized report format that we cooperated with Google and the others to get it going. We have an open PR to have multi-model deployments using model serves on the same namespace. The other relevant PR is a parameters with automation. We already had that for workload parameters. Now we have an open PR for deployment parameters. And finally, something it's more of a curiosity, might be interesting for others. I mean, it's interesting for IBM, but might be for others, is deployment with non-GPU accelerators. We have a deployment with AI with Spire, so might be relevant for others.
Thanks, Marcio. And finally, observability, Sally.
Hey, there's an issue open to separate the metrics collection, the quick start metrics. The quick start observability stack into its own script because it just doesn't make sense to now that there's like multi-tenant clusters where there are multiple llm-ds, and if you use the quick start, you deploy a central single one. It doesn't make sense. The pod monitors are added to the quick start examples now. And there's a working doc that like Tyler and Rob have contributed to kind of pinpoint what information would be very valuable across the stack. And from that, we can generate some like PromQL queries to generate some dashboards. So the last thing is we need a landing page for this observability work. And if I was thinking maybe a new repo, but I also think maybe just a new folder within the llm-d repo would work for now. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Sally. For the question, right? Yeah. Let's discuss in Slack in the community.
Okay.
I don't have a suggestion right now. I think it can go either way, but yeah, let's find the best way. I don't know if like incubation is also like a place you can put some of these things. Let's think about it. I don't know if anybody else has a suggestion here, but again, I do think we need a place to park the observability assets right now as they grow, and you'll find a place for you. Okay, I think that we cover everything. Is there any other comment from the six that were not covered, or any reaction to what you guys heard? Feel free to chime in. Otherwise, I think we're good for today. All right. Thanks all. I see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.